Hi, Henk Akkermans here, Supply Chain Dynamics, Chapter 5, Sysdea Gameplay 7, Historical and Base Case Behavior. So what does this model do then? Well, and what did the real world do? Well, let's begin up here with the inflow of orders. What you see up here is the red line is the historical order pattern. The blue line is what the simulation model makes of it. In both cases, there's a peak towards the second half of 2000, and then a decline, a much steeper decline in the model than in the real world, but nevertheless, a history-friendly version of it. This increase is actually much smaller, or much larger than what the real demand was like. You can also see it up here in this graph. The real demand goes up, that's the blue line, up, down. The simulated demand with all the hot air in it is the red line. Everything between the blue and the red line is basically hot air. It's orders that weren't really needed but are placed because of scarcity. The dotted red lines are the historical orders as they were placed. Let's just stick here for a little while, and you see that this is the backlog. The historical backlog is the dotted line. The actual backlog of systems for which orders have been received but which have not yet been shipped is this one, and it's huge. Of course, it's by definition kind of long because in those days production took like a year or so. So there would always be almost a pipeline of a year full of systems, or half a year, depending how busy it was. But this was a really huge one. The output line is much more smoothed. This shipments line, you can see that also in here, both in the model and in historically. Historically, there are spikes here, but they often have to do with things like end of the month shipments, etc. So all the shipments would be just before the end of the quarter, or some other reason, but nevertheless lots of noise. But the smoothed version of this looks a bit like the blue line. And because of the constraints in capacity, you can have a huge increase in orders, but that doesn't mean that you have a huge outflow of shipments immediately. You can also see that in the combined graph here. So the red lines are the actual shipments, and you see that the peaks in shipments happen something like 10 to 15 months after the peak in orders. So when there were no orders at all, or very few orders, actually the real shipments happened, and then everything sort of became less and less for some time. So here we've got a history-friendly simulation of something that happened. It behaves more or less like history did. Just briefly though, what in the meantime did happen at the suppliers? Well, we can see that if we have a look at capacity. Where is my capacity? Up here. So capacity did increase smoothly and went down again. We don't know, of course, really what capacity was like. We don't have data on this, but it makes sense that this is sort of the response that we had historically. So that's a classical behavior of a demand bubble. There's not enough, there's an increase in demand. That's more than capacity can handle. And as a result of that, demand doesn't go down. No, actually demand goes up further inflated until the bubble bursts. And then for a long time, demand is very low indeed. And that's what you see here.